Good morning, everybody. My name is Rob Searle, as Callum said, and I'm the head of 5G at, as Callum said incorrectly, Virgin Media O2 now. I'm still trying to get used to it. We're 10 days into the new company, but we've gone through an exciting period of joint venture. So we're now double the power. So there is some O2 monikers on here, but we're now firmly in the Virgin Media O2 world, which is very exciting. I'm sure we'll talk about that at some point. So I'm absolutely delighted to be here. Thank you for asking me to kick off what looks like a really exciting day, and be part of developing the unfolding 5G story. And I've got quite a question here on this slide. Why is the government investing in 5G? So given there's a clear question, I'm going to start with some key points from the published UK government 5G strategy. So I'm going to read verbatim here. So please bear with me. I won't read everything in the next 45 minutes or so. So the statement is very clear. The government has a clear ambition for the UK to be a global leader in the next generation of mobile technology, i.e. 5G. Good digital infrastructure is a building block for the government's modern industrial strategy. It creates new opportunities for growth by allowing business to be done on the move, unleashing dynamic business models, opening up new opportunities and markets. It also supports us in our everyday lives, connecting us with family and friends and colleagues, helping us to stay safe and giving us access to information and services that we are increasingly taking for granted. 5G promises a step change in mobile connectivity with enormous potential to boost productivity and grow the economy. And we want the whole country to benefit. So we will be taking a leading role in its development and rollout, putting the UK at the forefront of the 5G revolution. It goes on to state, and I'll quote, "It is impossible to predict exactly where 5G will make the biggest impact, but that sectors across the whole economy are expected to make use of new 5G technologies and applications." The report is 70 pages long. I'm not going to be, you'll be pleased to know, read any more. But I think there's some clear takeouts from the report, and that is the government has a clear ambition to be a global leader in growing GDP on the back of 5G. Now, I talk about this a fair bit. I look at a number of reports, and they vary between $1 and $4 trillion worth of GDP growth globally by 2035. I think this report articulates it slightly differently, but it puts an even bigger number on it, $12.3 trillion of value in 2035. Now, they're probably very different numbers by definition, but what you can take out is they are big numbers and the promise is huge. The other takeout is, there's a recognized uncertainty of how and when this value will be realized. But the third thing is that, the 5G technology step change is seen as having enough promise to enable this future vision. So that's the pretext from the government. That's their stated position, and I'm going to attempt to put, and you can see the points here that I'm going to cover this morning. I'm going to attempt to put some context on this, covering a view of the technology and how I see that route to value. And importantly, it's a route to value for all. I'll talk about it from my perspective, which is being part of an MNO. But the whole point about 5G is it brings value for all, whether it's us as MNOs, whether it's the partnerships, whether it's individuals, businesses, and society as a whole. That's where we need to see the value deployed and realised. So I'm going to cover the technical benefits. You can judge for yourself whether I make them clear or not. The challenge of investment, having a viable route to value, that really echoes the point in that government report about promise versus certainty. Innovation as a key to unlocking value, and collaboration as a vital ingredient to that innovation. And that's because of the expansion of thinking that 5G can bring. It's a much wider view of products and services. Market timing, you'll probably hear me say 5G is a journey. It absolutely is. It's here now. It's very exciting. But the real benefits will unfold in the future. You know, we can think of 5G and its route to value as it's here now, but 5-10 years, potentially, to really start to rinse all the value out of 5G. So timing is really important. And then growing confidence, investor confidence, to ensure that that vision is realized, and driving those steps along the way, moving from vision to reality. Real consortium building as part of collaboration, and just how important that is and what a crucial role it plays. And then if I have some time, I'll maybe show you my thin layer of knowledge around smart cities and the possibilities there, but I'm sure that's something you'll debate far more as you go through the day. So if we can skip to the next slide, Callum, that'd be great. Thanks ever so much. So this is technical benefits, and normally I have a slightly more edgy and unfriendly slide to talk through here, but I think the technical benefits of 5G are probably very well established in your minds, but I will just go through them, and they exist in 3 key axes. There's 4 quadrants on this, so it doesn't really help the story, but 3 key axes to 5G technical benefits. The first is enhanced mobile broadband, EMBB. Now that's all about speed and capacity. It's the headline grabber. It's what everybody talks about when we launched 5G in 2019. You can download box sets. You can stream ultra high definition media. For end users, it can deliver those rich content experiences on the move. And for MNOs, it can help us support that unstoppable and insatiable appetite for data growth, because the 5G radio layer with the MBB is far more efficient at delivering that capacity, about to the order of 10. So EMBB, capacity and speed, point 1. Point 2, ultra low latency communications, URLs, ultra reliable low latency communications, URLCC. And that is about, crucially, implementing an architecture with mobile edge computing, which can massively reduce network latency. Latency being the time from which a user or a thing, a machine, requests a service from a network, and that response is delivered. And it can deliver near instantaneous responses, which is crucial for real-time connectedness and systems that rely on real-time feedback loops. Coupled with something called network slicing, which can deliver a step change in availability and reliability of a service when we envision it delivered by 5G. And we can see 5G therefore as a potential host for critical services like intelligent transport systems or emergency service solutions. So that's the second point. And that's my dog Hector, by the way. He always likes to make an entrance. That's the second point, ultra reliable low latency communications. The third is massive machine type communications, MMTC. And really that's the densification of IoT and the ability to run IoT at low power for longer life. And that really supports, I've heard it called the instrumentation of society, which I think is quite nice. And that will nurture us towards something that you're probably going to talk about a bit more today, which is, those smart community ideas, whether it be health, whether it be education, energy, or transport, and ultimately nudge us towards a nation of smart cities if we grasp the opportunity. And then if we couple this with, we talk 3, there are lots of other technical benefits to 5G. If we couple this with improve security, and we're talking about security at every layer, be that infrastructure, be that servicing, be that application integration, the level of carrier grade security that comes with 5G takes it to another level. And also its ability to be ubiquitous, to create a network of networks. 5G is not just potentially a mobile technology. It can knit together a number of connectivity mechanisms to present a 5G fabric and take advantage of lots of different technologies, but present it in a very standard way. So all those things together, three key things, and security and ubiquity and connectedness, you can start to see why that, the promise dangled tantalizingly by the capability has so interested the government and allowed it to adopt a bold and forward-looking strategy backed by its own investment. So if we can whip onto the next slide. Thank you. So, how do these big buckets of capability translate into something meaningful? Well, here's a few thoughts, and you've probably heard some of them before, but I'll just take you through some of them. So, think of predictive maintenance. If you consider the ability to instrument things, lots of things at low power and real time, you can imagine a world where we shift and plan maintenance to avoid disruption to, major parts of our society, whether it's transport or manufacturing. Enabling those massive data sets through MMTC in an ultra reliable way on the move, and combining with things like machine learning and AI, we can really improve this discipline and possibly make unplanned outages a sort of a relic of the past. So huge potential around predictive maintenance. Automation collaboration, we talk about this a lot, that's enabled through the low latency, and will enable collaboration, real-time feedback loops, so cobots and the like across a huge number of environments. Slicing will enable a performance layer for these things to operate that has no other services running on it, so it's unencumbered by other communications, all working on the same network and able to be shifted over wide areas. So that makes automation and the benefits that automation can bring much more accessible and drives the efficiencies that are related to automation, of which there is plenty of evidence of what those benefits are. Monitor and asset tracking. So, the global logistics are huge. If you move to real-time monitoring and enhance the scale of that monitoring through things like the densification of IoT that 5G can bring, that's going to lead to far more efficient planning of logistics, increased delivery performance, and lower write-off of assets. Again, huge opportunity to drive benefits and efficiencies. And then immersive AR and VR, augmented reality and virtual reality. We see that now with enhanced mobile broadband. We're starting to see some of these cases come through, and I'll talk a little bit about later when we do a bit of a deep dive. That reduces travel. It drives up interactions, whether that's a social community or in a business environment, and it makes them far more accessible. And it brings a whole range of services far, far higher up that accessibility scale for all. And again, the associated benefits with that. But if that excites you, we'll be doing a little bit of a deep dive. We've even got a video later, so it's going to be exciting. And then health tracking and monitoring. This is a real favorite of mine, actually. I think the first sort of go-to thought is AR and VR, health tracking and monitoring, enhanced consultations, etc. I think of it more when I talked about instrumentation and massive machine type communications and dense IoT. If you go past the data privacy challenges that we will all have, and we will all have to face, you can start to see a world where, in a wearable technology, dense networks, low power, long life, instrumentation, you can start to think about how you could observe human behavior, human health statistics, whether that's, pulse rate, skin temperature, whatever. Clearly, I'm not a medic. A number of things that are tracked with those massive data sets, with machine learning, with AI. You can start to see how we could learn about how we run, work, and operate, and how it affects our health, and how our health reacts to our environment. And you can start to see a shift, potentially, from where we are today, which is a largely curative health approach, to preventative. just through that ability to learn, understand, and predict, and interact and intervene. So, you know, that for me, anything that can affect health and save lives is, I think, is amazing. It really is the ultimate benefit. But, you know, that's a real potential with the technology that's coming along, and something that I think is really exciting. So if we can flip to the next slide, Callum. Thank you very much. This is working very well in terms of slide movements. So how do we, you know, this is where we move from paper, so ideas, to actually people and making things happen. So actually taking some of the ideas and making them real through proof of concepts, trials that we can touch, feel, see, and understand and learn from. It's the pathway from promise to realization through trialing, through partnering and collaboration. And this is the crucial process to innovate those services and products that can turn the potential that I've talked about into real value, and value for all. And this process and its importance can't be underestimated. So some examples here, they're just words on the slide, but I'll try and bring them to life. So Vista, so these are trials, proof of concepts that we are actively involved in at version Meteor 02. Taking the first one, 5G Vista. So this is all about broadcast and 5G technologies to enhance a stadium experience. We've got a really rich heritage at O2, and I'm sure we'll continue it in VM02 with live events, whether that's music at the O2 and all the O2 academies, or sports with rugby, etc. And this is about the ability to enhance that experience using the technology, you know, bringing real-time views of the action in multiple angles, managing the density of the demand within those really densely packed, hopefully post-COVID, stadium environments, and interacting with stadium features, whether that's before, during, or after the event. So, you know, things like this are, Japan and South Korea have taken a bit of a lead, and it's a massive hit. You know, they love having devices and being able to interact more with what's going on in front of them. So, you know, we're running Vista, and we're really excited about that, and we'll kind of see what comes out of it through the trialing and proof of concept. Festival, also really exciting, and just recently announced. There's a bit of press around it. Digital Catapult taking a lead. I think DC are talking here a bit later, and that's really taking advantage of the low latency and high capacity. And it's about you know, bringing together geographically diverse artists. So think 4 locations across the country, and allowing them through the technology to collaborate themselves and feel that they are together through you know, the low latency and realization through immersive AR, audio and visual experiences, and then presenting that as one performance, you know, at a festival, enhancing that festival experience in the festival itself, streaming it at home, you know, and we can learn some really cool stuff there. So we've already learned, you know, how latency and humans interact and what the tolerances are just by running some of these initial trials. We'll understand what people like and don't like about the experience. You know, ultimately setting up a vision where festival access is, it's easier for the artists, it's cheaper to run, it's easier to put on, the experience is enhanced, clearly matching a technical capability to an emerging need, and building it to understand what works and what doesn't work and how it needs to be tailored going forward. Smart ambulance, really, really good. You know, again, we can share some material after if that's what people want to see. And that's about high capacity, you know, ultra high definition streaming, but at speed, you know, in a mobility case. So, and I've said before, I like the healthcare ones. I love this one too. You know, that's bringing enhanced healthcare at first response. So our paramedics do a great job, but being able to bring specialists, consultants who are not at the scene of first response, and have them almost like they're in the you know, in the situation through having that high definition streaming, having access to real-time scans, and being able to bring that expertise to that first response. you know, it enhances that hugely. So really good use case, required loads of collaboration. It's not just connectivity, you know, it's the use case definition, it's the need. So we work with the East of England or East of Cambridgeshire Ambulance Association. So, you know, they were really passionate about the ability to use the technology to improve this experience. And, you know, it was devices, it was software platforms to bring all these things together and present it as an immersive experience. So again, collaboration was key to drive that innovation and make that proof of concept come alive and be something that is tangible and you can see and feel has real benefit. And then connected autonomous vehicles. So our interest in that is huge. We talk about autonomous vehicles all the time, and it's the invention of, or the creation of, intelligent transport systems, not just vehicle communication, so vehicle to network, but the ecosystems of the future to enable wide-ranging changes in efficiencies, whether that's you know, lifestyle, accident prevention, accident response, traffic management, pollution control. You know, moving on beyond the ETSI standards and IT5G standards, ITG5 standards, and really building a V2X experience. So we've engaged Smart Mobility Living Lab in Greenwich. We've set up a Millbrook with the AutoAir Consortium. We're doing loads of work around mobility and connected autonomous vehicles. And Smart Ambulance was part of this collaboration. So real things come out of those investigations and those proof of concepts and trials. Darwin, that was working with the European Space Agency, really exciting. Again, that's the connectedness angle. So really, let's trial it. Let's work with satellite communications nets, knit together with 5G. Let's present it as one fabric layer and see what limitations that has. How can it help us drive ubiquitous coverage? How does that work for autonomous vehicles when potentially you're going through different levels of performance as you move between satellite and, you know, ground-based 5G? So loads of learning to have, but the potential for, you know, autonomous vehicles, maritime use cases, absolutely huge. And then Skyfarer drones, another medical one. So can we deliver medical supplies using drones when it's a critical delivery? You don't want to get caught in traffic. Again, the mobility of 5G, the ability to control over long distances, huge benefits there. So can we whip to the next slide, Callum? Great, thank you. You know, and this is what we're doing a lot of at VMO2, Virgin Media O2. We're looking to work with our customers and contacts to drive that innovation agenda and understand how to turn 5G capability into value and help businesses realize benefits. You know, as 5G becomes increasingly available, I've said it's a journey, and it absolutely is, and we're at the start. And we've got product teams looking absolutely at this, and we've done a lot of work with Northumbrian Water. You know, we selected them as a really forward-thinking utility company, looking for a technology partner to disrupt the market with these innovative new ideas that would allow them to transform the way they work and deliver their service to their customers. So they really want to get on at the start and be leading in this technology revolution. So we started working with Northumbrian, looking at their key use cases and see how 5G could help them address some of their challenges. And we went on to install a 5G network at one of Northumbrian Water's sites to run a load of these proof of concepts and make it real. We worked with a number of partners, you know, a lot from Wayra's program, and we built a number of 5G-enabled solutions to test real-life scenarios. I think over a 9-month period, we've delivered something like 10 proof of concepts, or proof of concepts on 10 use cases, should I say, which kind of validate, you know, how 5G can help. And it really took place in early 2020 was the main activity. And this is where you get to watch a video and you don't have to listen to me for a few minutes. But this will just give you a bit of a flavor of what that looks like from Northumbrian's point of view. So if you could whack the video on.
Jackson, and I'm Head of Strategy and Architecture at Northumbrian Water Group. The water industry is going through a lot of changes at the moment, and as part of that, we now need to do things significantly differently. And innovation is a key aspect to how we can be more disruptive and how we can improve the services that we provide to customers.
5G offers a range of benefits to businesses, and I've spent the last year working with our business customers to look at which products and services we can build and deliver that will help address their problems.
Naturally, 5G technology is reinventing connectivity, and the opportunity to be part of 5G trials and be delivering new 5G capabilities for the benefit of our customers was too big an opportunity for us as an organisation to pass up.
So we're running a series of trials looking at 4 test cases. The first is around using the high speeds of 5G to look at fast upload and download of their GIS data while they're out and about.
The tablets that they use have the latest asset information on, and we can only update that tablet information periodically now due to how big those updates are. 5G enables us to do that over the air, and the guys who are sitting in the van can conduct the update from their vehicle in a fraction of the time that they could previously.
The second one is using augmented reality for AR mapping, and using a tablet or a HoloLens device, it's giving people 3D visualization of the network beneath them.
That will enable us to be more accurate. We can see also from a health and safety perspective where there may be gas or electricity assets to keep our workforces safe.
The third one is remote experts. So this is where we use technology and video communications to link 2 people remotely. One might be completing a job and they'll be able to link to an expert via a video call to help them complete that job independently.
This really takes it to the next level in terms of more advanced visualizations, real-time communications, and that ability to work seamlessly and collaborate, whether you're in an office environment or out on the front line in the field.
And lastly is in-home water quality, so using IoT sensors to track water quality in customers' homes.
This device is called the Barnacle, and it has a number of sensors embedded into it that measure many different things that can tell us when there's leakage occurring or when there's an issue with water quality in that household. At the moment, the Barnacle device requires a hub and to be connected up to a Wi-Fi network in the home. 5G allows that device to be more self-sufficient and a complete solution.
Ericsson offer a really good solution in their radio dot system. They've worked collaboratively with us, making sure that it's fit for purpose and enabled us to get this trial up and running really quickly.
As a leading water organisation, we're always looking at how we can differentiate ourselves. Being part of the 5G trials enables us to be ahead of all of the other competitors and actually look at how we can deliver better solutions for our customers.
Great, thank you. I hope everybody could hear and see that video. I find it really heartening to see that, we can make real advances in pretty quick time, and bring real benefits to businesses. But you'll be delighted to know that's not the end of it. That was just the initial few use cases, and I'm just going to talk you through a few more that came out as the benefit of our interaction. The first one is around health and safety monitoring. So that's the picture on the left here. We look for a use case that could be tested within a 5G environment, and that is a picture of their RCC, their response control center, and it's an essential part of their operations with a team of people working around the clock to monitor the water network. And when incidents happen, obviously they need to respond very, very quickly. So the use case was to understand how to better manage the stress and fatigue within that control room. So the use of AI video analytics with a partner called Computer Vision, which looked at the patterns of behaviors of workers within the room, and then motion and sentiment analysis used to detect signs of stress and fatigue and just general ergonomics gives Northumbrian Water anonymized insights around trends to help them understand how they can reduce stress, change the layout of the room to ensure people are seated in the right way, and change shift patterns to reduce fatigue. You know, this type of technology has been deployed in many, many different areas to help businesses with resource deployment, health and safety, and general employee and customer experience. And then on the right here, we've got something called AR, augmented reality digital twin. So this was a follow-up to the AR mapping that you saw in the video, and uses the same technology to track and monitor critical valves which sit underground. So using the HoloLens device, which you saw in the video, and AR software, allows the Northumbrian Water field engineers to accurately locate the critical valves quickly and scan them for information. So, you know, what type of valve is it? What's the status? Information about when it was last checked and maintained. So really giving the workers the information to get their jobs done efficiently and accurately, but, you know, and also a more effective way to digitally audit and track the status of their key infrastructure. So, you know, again, some real benefits for Northumbrian Water just by starting to focus on those use cases. If we can flip to the next slide, Callum. Excellent, thank you. And then just a couple more, but I think they're really good. So virtual reality training, so delivery of training and guidance to operators and technicians on, you know, how to isolate and lock off electrical supply, ensuring correct procedure, which is pretty important, is followed and validated. You know, today training and learning demands half-day visits for all their staff on site, you know, with the necessary scheduling and the challenges that brings. Skills fade is a real health and safety risk, and you know, there's a whole load of refresh material that has to be published and sent out to try and address that skills fade risk. So, you know, delivery of training in an immersive and interactive way, it's far more human. It's you know, it's delivered wherever they are, it's efficient, it's safer, and it leads to better retention of information amongst the employees. Refresher training can be deployed really quickly to ensure that, you know, staff are always up to date with procedures. And using a Pico headset, you know, users were able to look around 360 degrees at simulated environments and can click on particular items and learn more and see how things are done. So that immersive training, real benefits in terms of upskilling and driving up that health and safety attention that is just so important to utility companies, and, you know, a wider range of companies across the business horizon. And then the final one is, and, you know, you're going to learn a lot about, you didn't think you were going to learn a lot about utilities and water management, but you are. Remote inspection via 5G controlled drones. So this was over Hanningfield Reservoir in Essex, and the reservoirs are full of compressed air lines, and they're regularly mucked about with, displaced, I think the official word is, by fishermen and their lines and their boats. And their purpose is to displace something called thermal layering, which propagates algae blooms, which is not something we want in our water, particularly prevalent in the summer. You can't see the lines from the shoreline, and you can only really verify it on a boat and getting out there physically, which is obviously weather dependent. So flying a drone over which you could clearly see the location of those compressed air lines, but you could also see where they'd, you know, ruptured and needed attention. It was also able to do that, because of the ultra high definition streaming, detect, you know, color changes in the water, which is indicative of emerging algae blooms. So, you know, these proof of concepts demonstrated how 5G in its earliest days can support innovative new solutions to address a range of case studies through, you know, faster speeds and processing of data. You know, and in future, when we move on and start to deliver and be able to make more widely available those, you know, ultra reliable, low latency, those MMTC type use cases, you know, that capability is only going to grow. So if we can flip to the next slide, please, Callum. Great, thank you. So as you can see, it's clear that, you know, innovation is key to unlocking value. You know, and furthermore, that collaboration and co-creation, demonstrated by working with an organisation like Northumbrian Water, is key to fueling, our innovation to ensure that value is unlocked for all participants, and those evolutionary services are delivered, which enhance productivity and efficiency, which is that route to those, GDP improvements that we talked about at the start. And throughout, many of these examples that I've given so far, we've relied on collaboration to realise an idea, make it real, whether that's Smart Ambulance, Vista Festival, Skyfarer. There's a whole range of organisations, be that network providers, be that software, be that hardware and devices, connectivity experts. We can't do any of this without collaboration. So we have to expand our approach to how we drive this innovation cycle. Interestingly, at O2 and now VMO2, I feel personally that innovation is something we've really driven throughout time through our network evolution. For those of you who may know, the basic facts around our spectrum, which is the kind of liquid gold that makes mobile networks work. Our spectrum holdings with respect to our competition, we've been in a relatively spectrum poor situation. So that means we've always had to find new ways of doing things and looking at things differently. So as a culture, innovating is not new to us, and that culture is a great building block to tackle this 5G innovation challenge. But the key difference, as I've said, is we will be working with a wider cross-section of industry and user bodies to do this, and that covers not just business, government, academia, think tanks, charities, etc. So really need to expand our minds about who we partner with and who we talk to realise this future value. And this introduces the notion of investor confidence. Investment, whether that's pounds, whether that's people, whether that's just thoughts, processes and ideas, they're all required to innovate. And collaboration is essential to fuel innovation. And through this alignment, more ideas take shape and they'll boost confidence to further invest and bring us all closer to that end game articulated in the government report. So, this collaboration and initial investment is vital to building that confidence cycle. If we can go to the next slide. Can. Thank you. But timing is absolutely everything. So back in, I think it was autumn of 2018, when I started my 5G journey, we invited, or my chief executive kindly wrote to all the other chief executives of the FTSE 100 companies and invited them to come and talk about 5G and how it could help solve issues and discover value in the form of revenue generation or efficiency discovery. Now, whilst it wasn't fruitless, it did show us that there were 150 ideas out there that existed that were thought to be very, very exciting, but it was largely stuck in historic thinking. So the ideas were great, but did they really take advantage of 5G? About 80% of them didn't. They could be fully run or started to be run on existing technology networks. They could be enhanced by 5G, but very few required 5G to actually take shape. So that was quite an interesting takeout when you consider all the excitement around 5G. And for those of you old enough to remember the evolution of 3G, it was sort of the same. So 3G came along around the turn of the millennium, and it was a massive step change from 2G to 3G in terms of technical capability, the ability to provide data to end users at high bandwidth, and it's nothing like 5G, but the step change was huge. And it was going to be somewhat revolutionary. But it didn't really it didn't really do anything. The technology was delivered, and it wasn't really until the advent of the smartphone, with the release of the iPhone in 2007, and the impact that had on generating the whole notion of application development and mobile applications and the application development community, that we saw the massive change and the massive lift in value around mobile communications and its associated technology. You know, it was a number of things that came together, and that's a collaboration, that's a partnership. The technology itself doesn't just elicit the change. You know, there's a number of other vital ingredients that need to be brought to bear to make sure that value is realized. So I'm not going to say that 5G is going to take 7 years, which 3G did. It was about the advent of when 4G turned up that value really started to take shape and materialize. But it's something like that, right? So you need those other ingredients to come together through the collaboration and partnership and innovation to make use of their technology. So we continue to look through a number of lenses here to help us focus and not try and look at everything that's possible, because everything that's possible is just too huge, right? So we look at which use cases are likely within which verticals, when will the technology be available to support, and what product areas can we focus on to work towards that vision. You know, it helps us shape the investment and helps drive confidence through ensuring that there's no over-investment in technology that is going to be delivered for underdeveloped products, but also that we've got the technology in place to take advantage and support proof of concepts when the need is there, and support those emerging products ideas. So that level of focus and recognition of timing on market readiness, technology availability, technology maturity in terms of capability is absolutely crucial to driving efficiency, financial efficiency effectively in that innovation process. So if we can whip to the next slide. Are we out of sync? I can't think. Can we whip to the next slide, Callum? No, actually go back. No, we're on. We whip forward anyway. So if we stay on that one, that's great. So, you know, with that in mind, we're always looking at opportunities to collaborate, to build and execute those proof of concepts that give us insight into what works, what doesn't, and again, growing that investor confidence that's so vital to secure continued investment in the innovation cycle. So we're engaging in consortium building to get these ideas off the ground, and it's those forums where these ideas take shape. They're really kind of the alchemy for the value generation that we're looking for. So very ably assisted by the DCMS, so the government, through their heavy investment, you know, multi-million-pound investments in 5G Create, 5G Innovate. You know, this has brought Spring to life. You know, we've got a number of partnerships, whether that's SMLL in Greenwich that I've talked about, the Auto Air Consortium in Millbrook, where we look at all aspects of intelligent transport systems and network performance, data gathering, road and traffic management, looking across the Worcestershire local enterprise partnership with the Worcester LEP, really focusing on, you know, how can 5G help take us towards Industry 4.0 and build that factory of the future. You know, those collaborative robots working on low latency, instantaneous feedback loops, and understand those practical implications of Industry 4.0. So, you know, for us, being part of that consortium, that collaboration, gives us vital insight into where the value is. It helps us think about what our network rollout might look like to support those emerging thoughts and ideas. You know, and other things like how we might, dirty word, how we might bill for and service manage some of these services and products that are going to evolve that probably don't really look and feel like anything we know today. So, you know, that insight that we get so that we can make sure we build the network and the associated capabilities to provision and manage those services is hugely important to us, so that, you know, we're part of that value chain going forward. So if we can whip onto that, you've got a sneak peek of this next slide, didn't you? So if we can whip onto that one, thank you. So just to touch on smart cities, I did say my thin veneer of knowledge, so I'm just going to just kind of pull out a few highlights from the O2 Smart Cities report as we talk to this. But it's a really nice picture of, you know, potentially what a smart city could look like and could be. It's very busy, but it starts with a definition. So the definition that, you know, we've come up with is a smart city is one that incorporates connectivity, ideally 5G, and ICT to improve the quality and efficiency of its transport systems, of its energy, of its planning, of its utilities, and reduce both wastage and costs. You know, the aim is to improve the quality of living for the city's citizens, save them money through the use of this smart technology. And some highlights from, you know, one of the reports that we commissioned a little while ago, where we said, you know, 5G will update the operating system. So it's a bit like the instrumentation angle of our cities, making them and creating benefits for citizens. You know, some of the highlights in the report found that, you know, households can save money up to £450 a year through, you know, benefits to energy, council and food bills. Councils, you know, seek to gain 2.8 billion, the number was, thanks to introduction of things like smart lighting, smart refuse collection. I love smart refuse collection. The Internet of Bins. If you just think how archaic our approach to refuse collection is, it's not changed for generations. The only efficiency you can drive is how long the cycle is before you come back to the same house. If you can, you know, sensor enable with MMTC and only empty the bins that are full, you don't have overflowing bins, you don't empty bins. It kind of makes sense, and you can see where the value comes from. And then health monitoring as well. NHS benefits through the AR, VR consultancy, mobility for those kind of capabilities, not to mention the things that, you know, I talked about around MMTC. And then, you know, benefits and livability through road congestion reduction, pollution reduction, that predictive maintenance bringing benefits for, you know, reduced outage of transport services, etc. So, you know, the vision is really there, and it's really picking up on some of the themes that I've introduced throughout the last 40-50 minutes that we've been talking, and they're easily achievable when you consider the capability that 5G can bring, and the ease with which it can be deployed in the long term and consumed. Yeah, but once again, that, you know, though there is uncertainty about just how this will take shape, you know, I think that's something you'll probably debate over the day-to-day with the experts that you're going to talk to and interact with at this conference. So I think I'm close to time. I'm happy to take questions, but before I do, I just kind of want to recap and remind very, very briefly just some of the key points. So, you know, the UK is investing heavily in 5G based on the belief that its capabilities will revolutionize society. How and when that revolution will take place is not just based on the technology, I hope I've got this across, but the innovation of business as a whole to embrace and demonstrate how it will be used to achieve those new services and enhance existing ones. So investment is absolutely flowing now to drive that innovation process, making 5G value more tangible, and hopefully driving further investment to fully realize the promise of that 5G vision and bring it to reality. So I think it's a great message to leave you as part of the Spring Accelerator, which, you know, really demonstrates how investment is enabling the environment for innovation. So kind of this is it. This is where it happens right here. So happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Rob. We do have a couple of questions for you, so I will jump straight in. In your opinion, what aspects and features of 5G will have the most impact in improving our cities and quality of our lives? Is there anyone that's a top, most notable for you?
Well, I think they all do. As I outlined at the start, there's a blend. Those three key ones. You know, I think potentially out of all of them. So you've got the enhanced mobile broadband, ultra high definition media, It depends what services people want to adopt and how they see them. You know, I said South Korea and Japan have taken a lead on this. You know, culturally, they really like things like this. Whether that works here, we'll find out through trialing a process. I think, you know, potentially the combination of the evolutionary things of the ability to monitor at low power and scale and drive huge amounts of data recognition, and couple that with machine learning when you think about smart cities in the future, and the ability to understand really how transport works, really how health works, and start to interact with it based on learning. For me, that's kind of where I see the biggest societal benefits. But, you know, hopefully, as I've said, time will tell. There's going to be a lot more brains focused on this than me, and they will develop that future.
For sure. And obviously this kind of, it's multifaceted in many ways, but is there anything that's, say, a main barrier for the market adoption?
I think it's that there's a bit of belief. There's a bit of immersion. So, you know, if you think about what I said about talking to people in 2018, the barrier was their ability to think about what it could be. Yeah. So we're kind of steeped in historical models about how things work. And we need some of that evolutionary and innovative thinking to take advantage of, you know, the 5G capability is massive. It can just do so much. So that's why this innovation process is so important. You know, there will be the traditional barriers. So, you know, the ability to roll out super fast 5G networks that are absolutely everywhere and immersive is expensive. Our infrastructure and planning laws don't really support it. So, you know, we need government support to start to break down those things. But it's that, you know, a rolling stone gathers moss, isn't it? So if we can start to generate some of those ideas, translate it into what it means for network deployment, for network rollout, for value, and who's going to drive the value out of this and who's going to benefit, the more we can build that story, the more we can break down those barriers, because it becomes so clear that we need to. So that's why these, you know, innovation fostering and crucibles like this is so important.
For sure. And I'll ask you one more question, just turn it back onto O2 and VM02. What is O2 doing to enable the innovation needed both within your own business and outside?
Great question, and hopefully I covered off some of this in here. So, you know, we've got product development teams actively seeking interaction with businesses to have these kind of conversations. What can we do? And then trying to bring it alive with things like private network installations. So we are really fully on the internal collaboration within VM02 and reaching out to our customers and contacts as well to try and drive these conversations, doing things like asking the FTSE 100 companies, you know, come and let's talk, right?
Absolutely.
And also, you know, heavily investing in things like Spring, working with the government and getting involved and making use of the funding that they're putting in place to really do things like Vista and Festival and just bring those things alive. And not all of it may fly, right? So, but hopefully some of it will stick. Some of it will provide you know, food for thought about, okay, well, if we can do this, we can do that. And again, it's that snowball cycle, and we don't have to do it tomorrow. No. I said it's a journey. You know, some of those elements of MMTC and ultra reliable low latency won't be publicly available on large scale for some time. So, you know, we've got time to think about this and time to plan it, because we're talking 5, 6, 7, 8 year 10-year journey to really drive these benefits. When I introed at the start, the government says 2035. They said it for a reason, right? It's going to take that long to do it. So we just all need to get on the page and start talking about it more. That's the key thing.
And a question on talking about it, sorry, just to ask you one more from Paul Armstrong. What can cities do to speed up the rollout of the 5G infrastructure? Is it just talking to council members, or is there something they can do more?
Again, you know, get involved in the use cases of why, you know, get involved in situations like in events like this to really start to build the case of to get more specific about how we're going to do this. Yeah. And then obviously, you know, I think you know, there's some influence on from a logistical and infrastructure perspective. I talk very selfishly from a M&O perspective. There are always challenges and barriers to giving us the opportunity to deliver the best network experience that we absolutely aspire to. You know, we'll get iffy landlords, and you can't put it there, and you know, and we're working really hard with the supply chain to make sure they're not ugly things, and you know, and build small cells that look like bits of the street. So, you know, I think focus on that to try and break down some of those barriers to allow us to roll out that infrastructure, because without it, you know, these ideas aren't fully going to take shape, and that would be such a massive shame.
Agreed. Rob, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I could literally listen to you for hours. It's great. So thank you so much.
My pleasure.
I think we're all very grateful and happy to have you. Yeah, thank you very, very much. Everybody, we will be moving on to the next panel discussion just shortly. I will just stop the broadcast briefly to bring everybody in. It'll only take about 3 minutes. So if you'd like to join the expo, watch a video quickly, or join the networking, then please do. Thank you for your questions. And again, thank you very much, Rob.